Hey, good morning, everyone. I want to talk today about what would it look like if I became a Christian. This is actually a pretty big topic. It's kind of sobering for me actually to present this information to you because I don't want to misrepresent anything. I don't want to lie to you. I don't want to sell you something. This is actually super important, obviously. So I have heard people say, yeah, I became a Christian or I prayed the prayer a couple years ago and my life's no different. And I just think, well, maybe nobody ever told that person that this isn't something you pray once and then walk away. This isn't a one-time thing and like, okay, now I did that, so I guess I got that area covered, I'm saved, and I just go on with my life. This is the beginning of a total life change, hopefully, and it's the beginning of a journey. So it's the start of something. And I want to describe that something in a few different ways, but I figured it'd be a good idea to just go to the Bible, like we typically do on this channel, and see what the Bible says about it. So, and in this case, let's just look at some ways that Jesus described life if someone chooses to become a follower of him. Because that's really at the core of it. I don't want you to become a Christian. I want you to become a follower of Jesus. And because that's what Jesus is going after as well. He didn't come down here to start a religion. Jesus didn't come to earth to give us another option in this panoply of religions that are out there. Jesus came to demonstrate who God is and to communicate to all of us that there is one way to God, and it's through him, Jesus Christ. So the point of him coming down here was to give us something to follow, something, a way of life that's different from everything else that we've learned or tried in our past. So just to say at the outset of this, it's really not about becoming a Christian. First of all, in America, that could kind of mean anything, or in the world, it could kind of mean anything. You know, there's a lot of people that would say, yeah, I'm a Christian, but if you ask them to explain it, they would have all different kinds of ways of explaining what that means. So it's really about becoming a follower of Jesus. So I just wanted to put that out there to begin with. So what is Jesus? How does he describe what it will look like to be a follower of his? First of all, here's something that he says. He says, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and heavily burdened, and I will give you rest." So in a very real sense, this is finding rest for your souls. It's difficult to describe or put into words what it's like when you have peace with God versus not knowing where you stand with God or feeling like you're butting heads with God or at enmity with God. It's difficult to describe what it's like to have peace with God, but it's an incredible thing. It's a bit like coming home. To the degree that home is a place of peace and rest, coming to Jesus, giving your life to Jesus is a bit like coming home. So that's one way he describes it. He says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavily burdened, and I will give you rest." That's a big one. He also says, "The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I came that they would have life and have it abundantly." So life as a follower of Jesus takes on a whole new quality. Life becomes robust with meaning, filled with purpose and meaning. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He's talking about the devil basically there, who has been beating up on all of us without us knowing about it most of the time, and putting fake things in front of us that we think are going to give us life and give us fulfillment. That could be money or sex or drugs or just a life of success in a worldly sense or whatever. He puts a bunch of fake stuff in front of us all the time and gets us chasing after those things. And it really ends up feeling meaningless in the end. I don't know if you've heard people talk about, people who are super successful. Every once in a while, they'll let us into their world and get honest. And they'll say, I've been on the silver screen. I've made it, to the highest levels in Hollywood, or I've made it in the highest levels of the music industry or whatever. And I just thought there was going to be more. I don't know. That is just not satisfying. And yet the rest of us still want to try it. So the reality is all that stuff is ultimately meaningless. Jesus promises a life that's full of meaning. Okay. In another place, he says, if anyone wishes to come after me, let him take up his cross and follow me. So this is not a promise of an easy bed of roses kind of life. This is actually a call to deny our own interests, deny ourselves, and follow him. It's a choice to put his interests and his purposes ahead of ours. And then he goes on to say, whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. So paradoxically, when we try to do everything that's in our bucket list, so to speak, or I'm going to look out for number one all the time. I'm going to go after these things that I think are going to give me the most life and be the most fulfilling. We end up losing all sense of meaning and purpose because we're just living this self-focused, hedonistic life. That's not fulfilling. It's ultimately not fulfilling. But Jesus says, whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. So again, paradoxically, if we give all that up and we say, okay, God, just show me what you have for my life, all of a sudden it takes on this whole new quality and this whole new meaning. Then he goes on to say, what will it profit a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul? Again, just saying you could have it all. You could have it all the riches, all the success and everything, and come to the end of life having ignored God and having chosen to have nothing to do with Jesus, and your soul end up in hell. What does that gain you if you live your whole life with all the comforts and pleasures of the world and end up in hell? Not a good trade. And then he says, what will a man give in exchange for his soul? It's almost like saying, so you come to the end of your life and you've lived this life of pleasure and success, and then you realize, well, wait a minute, so all this spiritual stuff is real, God is real in Jesus, and now I'm going to hell because I ignored it? Well, here, take all the money, take the houses and the cars, take that. I want my soul to be in eternity in heaven. I don't want to go to hell. And it's like, sorry, it doesn't work that way. What would you give in exchange for your soul? You can't. There's nothing you can give. So, a life with Jesus is a life where you give up your life only to gain it all back. Okay, it may not be what you wanted, what you thought you wanted, in terms of the worldly goods and all that stuff, but it's a life full of meaning and purpose, and actually the most blessed life that you could script for yourself. God is a much better script writer for your life than you or I ever will be. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. There's a couple here I'm gonna compile together. Jesus says, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." And he also says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit." So becoming a Christian or becoming a follower of Jesus is taking on his mission. His mission is just to display the heart of God in the world. In another part of the Bible, it talks about his mission is to destroy the works of the devil. So we get to be a part of that, which is pretty awesome. But it's really participating in his mission. And that may look like right where you're at, without any sort of radical changes in terms of your day-to-day life, except the radical change of what your life is all about on a deeper level. He may He may put you in a different place entirely, a different job, or different part of the world, or whatever. I don't know. It could mean any one of those things. But the underlying purpose of your life is filled with this mission that God has, really just to love people to life. It's really about just loving people to life. So those are some of the ways that Jesus describes what it's like to be a follower of him. I wanted to also put my own twist on it as well. You making a decision to become a Christian, to become a follower of Jesus, it's the beginning of something. And I want to describe that something in 3 different ways. It has to do with change, control, and community. Okay, so let's start with change. You are saying, God, I am willing to let you make changes in my life. And what's amazing is he's going to come into your life and he's going to start to clean things up. Again, this is a huge topic to talk about, what it's going to be like to become a Christian. And so most likely this video will fall woefully short. But one of the things I'd like to describe is this change, and he's going to start to clean things up. He'll do all kinds of things in your life that are incredible, but think of it like, so I'm a trades guy. I've come from construction background. I think I've said this in other videos. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a theologian. I work construction, and my love is building things. And so a lot of the examples that I come up with are going to kind of have to do with that on these videos. But so when I was thinking about this, I'm thinking about, when you're building a deck or something like that, and you're using a miter saw, and you got all these cutoffs, and they're piling up. They're just piling up in front of the miter saw, and it's getting to where you can't even work efficiently. You're tripping over this stuff. You're trying to make your cuts. You got to spend 30 minutes. You got to take some time and clean up the area in front of the miter saw so you don't walk up and slip on a board and, knock yourself out or whatever. Take some time and clean that up. This, some of the changes that God might make in your life are kind of a cleanup sort of thing. And it's not the kind of cleanup that just takes 30 minutes and, I'm good, now let's get back to life as normal. These are changes in your overall understanding of how life works and your view of other people. So one example of this might be in the area of bitterness or unforgiveness. A lot of times we have bitterness or unforgiveness towards people in our past that have hurt us. And we think that we're getting them back by holding on to that hurt and holding on to that unforgiveness because they hurt us so bad. But what I'd like to propose to you is that unforgiveness towards people who have hurt you is like drinking poison and thinking you're hurting them back. Drinking poison is not going to hurt that person out there in life that hurt you. It's only hurting you. So one of the things he may clean up in your life, if necessary, is walking you through a process of forgiving people who have hurt you and clearing out the bitterness and the unforgiveness that's in your life. And the feeling of that getting washed out and washed away is amazing, incredible. So that's just one example on the change front. Next is control. All right. So you are saying, God, I am willing to give up the controls of my own life and give you the access to the controls of my life, basically. So we're used to doing life how we think is best. And we kind of wake up each day. Maybe we have a plan further out than one day. Maybe our plans go out years into the future, depending on your personality. But we're used to living life how we want to live it. And a decision to follow Jesus is a decision to yield that stuff to him. It's a decision to put at rest independent decision making, if that makes sense. It's a decision to say, okay, God, I am deciding at this moment to let you speak into all the decisions that are coming for me in the future. I am letting go of my independent living. If you get married and you think you want to just keep living like a single person, I think your marriage is going to struggle. Part of marriage is I'm giving up the single life, right? But you give up that single life because you know this life with this other person is going to be so much better. So I'll happily give that up because I believe that being married to this person is going to give me the most joy, and I want to be with this person. I want to fill their life with joy by sharing my life with them. It's like that, I've realized that I don't want this independent life anymore. I'm not actually doing that great of a job running my own life. And so, God, I am willing to let you speak into my life, and I want you to, and I invite that. So it's a decision to give up the controls of your life. And then the third thing I wanted to talk about was community. You are saying to God, I am willing to participate in the community that you are creating, which is the community of believers who have trusted Christ for their salvation and are following Jesus. So you don't have to go to church to be a Christian. And on the other side of the coin is going to church doesn't even necessarily mean you are a Christian. But if you become a follower of Jesus, then you are saying, I am willing to become a part of the community of believers. And it's kind of difficult to become a part of the community of believers without joining a church and jumping into where those community of believers are doing life. So if you, in a unique set of circumstances, you might find a group of believers that are truly following Jesus outside of a church. It typically takes getting involved in a church to find that group of believers. Okay, so I'm going to make a video at some point about how to find a good church and what you should look for. But if you are going to become a follower of Jesus and become a Christian, you definitely want to find a good church. And you need to find a church that teaches the Bible, that teaches that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. There are a lot of places out there with a cross on top that look a lot like churches and say they're churches, but they're teaching things that are not biblical. So you got to be careful about that. I would recommend going on the website of whatever church if you want to try one out and seeing what they believe first. They should be talking about Jesus as the only begotten Son of God and the sacrifice for man's sin. There's a bunch more I'll go into. I don't want to get into it all right now, but that's a big part of this. So those three things is what I wanted to highlight. Change, control, and community. And this is the start of something. This is the start of something beautiful. So the main thing that I want to emphasize just in summary at the end of this is that this is the most important decision of your life. It's not a one-time decision. It's the beginning of something. And God knows where you're at. So one of my concerns about making this video is I also don't want to freak people out. I don't want to make it sound like it's this thing you do once and you're done. I also don't want to freak people out and scare people off, but you got to know what you're in for, right? You got to know what you're signing up for. And this is a life change for sure. It's the best possible change that you could ever imagine. But I also want to say that God knows exactly where you're at. So if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to pray this prayer to become a Christian, and God is going to make me do all kinds of crazy stuff, and take a breath and and begin your trust relationship with God. There, He knows where you're at, what you're capable of, and how He's made you. And so you stepping into a relationship with Him is the beginning of a trust relationship. And so you've got to engage that part of your faith as well, of just simply trusting Him. There will be times of challenge for sure, but He's not going to give you more than you can bear. If you try to do this alone without people around you, then there will be times where it feels like it's more than you can bear, probably, because we need each other. We need to lean on each other in this process. The community part is huge. So again, I just want to emphasize that He knows you, knows exactly where you're at, and is just waiting to engage in this relationship with you. So you need to know everything that this entails, but there's also no way of knowing everything that this entails, because it's a lifelong journey. This isn't a one-time event. It's the beginning of a lifelong journey, but it'll be the best thing you've ever done. So I can promise you that. And look forward to talking to you again on the next video. Hope you have a great day. Take care.